This is Optimal Finance Daily, episode 242. Get Rich with Moving to a Better Place, Part 1, by Mr. Money Mustache of MrMoneyMustache.com. And I am Dan, your narrator. I am here turning blogs into podcasts. Every Monday through Friday, some of the best personal finance blogs on the planet. We take the content, we turn it into little audio podcasts that you can listen to on the go. And today's post is from Mr. Money Mustache. It's a bit long, so I'm going to read half of it today and then wrap up the rest tomorrow. But before we get into it, big thanks to the support coming from the Scott Alan Turner Show, the high priest of the Church of the Financial Truth, as one might call him. His advice is the same he'd give to his own mom and will put more money in your pocket. Plus, his show includes a lot of Star Trek, cat, and pop culture references, so it's always entertaining. To learn more, visit ScottAlanTurner.com. For now, let's get to today's post as we optimize your life. Get Rich with Moving to a Better Place, Part 1, by Mr. Money Mustache of MrMoneyMustache.com. If you're like me, you currently live somewhere. But can you explain why exactly you live there? For most people throughout the history of our species, the reason they live somewhere is because they were born nearby. And the reason they were born there is because their parents were born nearby. Very rarely, a brave and enterprising person will make a big move to a whole new place in search of wealth or happiness. Some of your ancestors did that, forming an interesting chapter in your family history, and maybe even you have done that in your own lifetime, and you're currently living far from where you were born, probably because of a bold personal choice you made. Good for you. I'm bringing up this topic because I am often amazed at the disparity in niceness between different regions of the U.S. and of other countries and parts of the world in general. There are some areas which have drastically better weather or landscape or outdoor recreation, tax rates, job possibilities, mountains, oceans, lakes, beaches, you name it. And yet, as I study the areas with the best attributes, the cost of living in these areas is often completely uncorrelated with how nice they are. I like to make fun of the New York, New Jersey region because it is just amazingly expensive and crowded, and yet it is completely unremarkable compared to the rest of the United States. Humid summers, rainy and cold winters, limited access to wide-open natural areas, all wrapped in a package of heavy regulations on small business owners like myself, and shocking property taxes. The annual tax on a house like mine would be over $10,000 there versus $2,300 that I pay now, even while the house itself would probably be a one-bedroom shack in my under $400,000 price range. It is true that some people make ridiculous salaries in New York City, and for those people, it is logical to live there for a short time to maximize their savings. Others actually like it there, and of course many are tied by strong family bonds, which are very important. But after we rule out those groups, there are still millions of people who are just there because they're there, living in a crowded and expensive life just because they haven't realized how energizing it can be to move. Meanwhile, I've seen a lot of other parts of the U.S. on my many road trips over the past decade. When visiting Tucson, Arizona and Albuquerque, New Mexico, I was astounded by the gorgeous scenery, never-ending clear blue skies, and the extremely low cost at which you can pick up a stylish stucco house on a palm-treed lot in nice parts of town near the university, especially after the housing price crash we've enjoyed in recent years in this country. My own Colorado is mostly cheap and presents a nice balance of culture, recreation, and reasonable outdoorsy year-round climate. Update. This article was first written in 2011, and the U.S. has been on a non-stop house appreciation binge since then. So, although many cities in my country remain very affordable, other prices are pretty out of date. But recently, 2016, an MMM reader developed a global search tool to help seek out cool, inexpensive places to live around the world. It's really well done and still expanding. Check him out at The Earth Awaits, www.theearthawaits.com. In Las Vegas, you can get a very nice house in many parts of town for about $100,000. A stylish condo near the Strip, which you can rent out to tourists for massive profits as a vacation rental, or a spacious modern house with a pool out near the foothills where you can swim and hike out of your backyard and never see winter again. You won't care about the housing market or even the job market because your cost of living will be so low that you may be able to retire a decade earlier than normal. The same story of palm trees and never-ending warmth combined with negligible living costs now exists in Phoenix, Arizona, and even the desert suburbs near the foothills just east of Los Angeles. In the Pacific Northwest, you can live affordably in the land of beer and beards in hip towns like Portland, Oregon, or Bellingham, Washington. You can even live on a rainforesty island in the nearby San Juan Islands and spend many of your days exploring coastlines by kayak. In the 200-mile stretch of beach cities around Miami, You can pick up a luxury house or a snappy condo complex with a sweet pool and hot tub, or a skyscraper overlooking the beaches and turquoise waters for pennies on the dollar thanks to bank foreclosures, making a waterfront tropical beach compound less costly than a vinyl-clad shack in a Toronto suburb. Ah, Toronto, the big city near my birthplace. It's the Canadian version of NYC. People pay fantastic amounts for modest houses that are buried in stale brown snow for several months each year, and commute 40 minutes each way through a 16-lane traffic jam to get to their jobs. Or Fort McMurray, Alberta, where people pay Toronto prices to live in a mosquito tundra near the Arctic Circle, just to plug themselves into an above-market income stream from the Saudi Arabia-sized oil sands project that is in permanent expansion there. What kind of life is this? Canada has the fantastic oceany cliffs of the Maritimes where everyone is friendly, houses near the sea are nearly free, and the parties are legendary. It has the sunny granola marijuana hippie belt in interior BC and the Okanagan Valley. There's the Hong Kong cosmopolitan buzz of Vancouver with its non-snowy winters, or the indie rock university town island vibe of Victoria. I also love Australia and New Zealand, where pleasantly different and fun-loving cultures combine with much more ocean and noticeably cheaper food and beer, all in a gorgeous climate that rivals the best parts of North America. With an increasing number of careers and entrepreneurial businesses that can be done from anywhere through teleworking, and the fact that an ambitious person can carve out a job for themselves in almost any city, I think that moving is often a fantastic idea, and it is mainly fear of the unknown and fear of change that is holding people back. To be continued. You just listened to part 1 of the post titled Get Rich With Moving to a Better Place by Mr. Money Mustache of MrMoneyMustache.com, and I will finish reading this post to you in Wednesday's show. Now, before you move on to another podcast, big thanks to the Scott Alan Turner Show. Scott is helping to keep this podcast alive, and he has a great show of his own that you should definitely check out. He's also the author of the best-selling book 99-Minute Millionaire, the simplest and easiest book ever on getting started investing and retiring rockstar rich, which you can find on Amazon. He's been featured in many different outlets, and with good humor and inspiration, he's going to help you get out of debt faster, save more money, and retire wealthy. To hear his show and find out more about him, visit Scott online at scottalanturner.com. And by the way, Alan is spelled A-L-A-N. He's a friend of this show and a great guy, so again, visit scottalanturner.com for more info. And that'll do it for today's episode. I will be back tomorrow to wrap up today's post. So stay tuned for that on Wednesday, where your optimal life awaits.
Hello, Life Optimizer. This is Justin Malik, creator and producer of this podcast, but also Optimal Living Daily, the show where I read to you from even more blogs covering finance, productivity, minimalism, personal development, and more from incredible bloggers like Derek Sivers, Zen Habits, Mark and Angel, The Minimalists, and all the ones you hear on this show too. So if you enjoyed today's episode and like taking amazing blogs on the go, come on over to Optimal Living Daily and subscribe to that one too. And together, we'll start optimizing your life.
You've been listening to Optimal Finance Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode and head to oldpodcast.com. That's OLDpodcast.com for a free gift as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.